Hello, good afternoon. I'm Shu Fang from National Gallery Singapore, and I'm very happy to be here. And thank you for being with me this afternoon. So today I will share a little bit more about education at National Gallery Singapore. The National Gallery Singapore focuses on exhibition, education, and research on Singapore and Southeast Asia art. We are located in the Civic District, so within walking distance around our gallery are theatre and performing arts centres. Through our exhibitions, education, and research, we hope to create dialogues between Southeast Asia art and the rest of the world through our permanent exhibition as well as our special exhibitions. Of course, as a museum, we organize a variety of programs and festivals to connect with different audiences. We have curator talks in the gallery, for example, and we have night festivals, which are always very popular with the younger people that I see here, quite a few today. Okay. So education at National Gallery Singapore, one of our purposes is to cultivate and foster the future generations of art lovers, critical and creative thinkers. We recognize students and any visitor as independent, active person with diverse histories and cultures, and we want to provide opportunity for intellectual and social development through art. Now, one of our big questions is, what do children want to know about art? We are asking this question because as educators, we often think, this is what I think my students need to know. This is how I think I will teach about this topic or this concept. But I think as educators, we need to also start asking ourselves, what is it that children are interested in? What is it that they want to learn? We need to begin to listen to the children that we are interacting with. So this is a question that a 10-year-old student asked at the end of a museum tour. Why do the artists not smile in self-portraits? And I think it's a great question. So if you think about some of the self-portraits that you have seen, famous self-portraits, you do wonder why the person is not smiling. Here's another question. This is a very big, in fact, this is the largest painting in our gallery. It has very rich history and very rich imagery in terms of symbolism with animals and struggles. But really what a child was asking was, such a big painting, how does it fit into the frame? And in fact, that same student asked, how did it fit through the door? Yes. So sometimes they are thinking about things that we think we don't realize. So I will share a little bit more about our education framework. So we look at education for ages from 4 all the way to 19. So imagine this is preschoolers all the way to your pre-university students. For the younger age groups, we concentrate a lot on developing curiosity and imagination, and we do a lot of that through storytelling, as well as through music and movement in the galleries. For the older students, so 9 to 12, in Singapore we call that primary school. So these are for students, primary school is for students between 7 to 12 years old. For education at the gallery, just around the 9 to 12 age group, we are really looking at developing vocabulary. So equipping students with the ability to talk about art, but more importantly, to connect, to find a personal connection with what they are looking at and what they are feeling and what's around them at the moment. Now, for the slightly older teenagers, we think it's quite important to help them connect different aspects of culture, history, society through art. So through art, we are developing a sense of contextual understanding, that to understand something, you need to know the different contexts in culture and history to that concept or that subject matter. And for older students between 17 to 19, I think in that scaffolded pedagogical journey, by the time you reach pre-university or university, I think it's very important then to be able to understand concepts from multiple perspectives, to recognize that there are many different ways to understand a subject or a concept, and to also find new ways to interpret. So that's our learning framework, our education framework in short. Okay, so today I'm also going to talk specifically about two projects that we have. One is the Primary 4 Museum Learning Program, and the second is Keppel Center for Art Education. Okay, the Primary 4 Museum Learning Program developed as a result of a collaboration we have with the Ministry of Education. And the big objective is for every primary school student, before they leave school at 12 years old, they would have had the opportunity to visit a museum and to look at, understand, and learn about Singapore art. So we worked quite closely with the Ministry of Education over a number of years. We first started with focus groups and meetings with different stakeholders, different subject teachers, even students. Then we followed up between 2014 to 2015. The gallery did quite a number of school talks. So we went out to the schools during school assembly. I don't know if you have school assembly here, but school assembly is usually the first 20 to 30 minutes before lessons start, and the principal says something very important. So we are there to talk about art, and we introduce Singapore art and Southeast Asia art to students during the school assembly. And then in 2015, the year that the gallery were to open, we worked very quickly to confirm the artworks that will be featured in the primary school art syllabus, so that by 2016 and 2017, we were able to conduct test groups. So our gallery opened in November 2015. In 2016, we had testing with 7 schools. They brought their students here. We tested our school tour scripts with them. We trained facilitators, and it gave us a chance to hear from students more about what they want to know about art, and it gave us a chance to improve and revise our tour scripts. So in 2018, last year, it was a very nervous year for my team because we had almost 40% student participation, where we were prepared just for about 25%. So in fact, the school leaders and the school teachers were very enthusiastic with the idea of bringing their students to the gallery to learn about art. So we had to very quickly increase the number of facilitators we have, increase the number of school tours, such that we didn't say no to any school that wanted to book a tour with us. The other thing I thought would be interesting to share is that we train facilitators to guide schools and to deliver the school tours, because teachers, in our focus group with teachers said to us that they would like, when their students coming to the gallery, they would like their students to hear a different voice. So it is, the teachers really wanted the tours to be conducted to give a different perspective to their students. So what is our facilitation approach with our young students at the gallery? A lot of questions that we ask. And if you look at the questions, in these questions, you don't really have a right or a wrong answer. So it's questions to really encourage personal connection and personal response. For example, in looking at a painting, we may ask, what is the first color that you noticed? And we might say, what kind of sound do you think this color makes? Or if they're looking at a painting that has figures and people in it, we might ask them, what do you think the people are saying to each other? So these questions are not meant to make the students feel like there's a right or wrong answer, but it's really to encourage them to be able to respond in their own way and bring their own experiences into their response to art. We also like to ask students to imagine they are the artists, and if they were able to retitle the artwork, how would they retitle it? And that's a really, really good question. Students are very ready to say how they would improve an artwork or how they would title it differently. Okay, so very quick learning points from the Primary 4 museum-based learning program. In this program, actually what it means is that in the curriculum time, there is a number of hours that is protected for students to come to the museum to look at art. Now this is very different from saying that art is something that we will do if we have extra time. Art is something we would do after exams. Yeah? So this new syllabus protects a certain amount of time for students to visit a museum, to look at art. So what are some of the learning points? These are very, very brief learning points that my team and I thought about. And sometimes the learning is very basic and simple, but it makes a big difference for students. For example, a gallery space that is brighter makes students feel more welcome. Having information for teachers early so they can make plans about 1 year ahead of time, and they have time to sort out administrative matters like bookings and consent forms. And of course, facilitators, the person who's guiding the tour, the person that is interacting with the students. Having facilitators that are well-trained, that enjoy the company of young children, I think that's very important. Facilitators that are regularly observed and evaluated and given continuous training. That's the key, I think, to a good experience for students. Okay, I'm going to talk about the Keppel Center for Art Education now. Okay, the Keppel Center for Art Education is a space, it's about 1,000 square meters. It's located on just about 20 steps from the front entrance of our gallery, and its founding partner is Keppel Corporation. That's why it's called Keppel Center for Art Education. And with the gift from Keppel Corporation, we are able to make programs and experiences at the center free for all visitors. So since we opened in November 2015, we have reached over 1 million visitors. That's young children with their parents or their caregivers or their grandparents coming to the center. And we're also very happy to receive the Children in Museums Award last year. This is an international award organized by the European Museums Academy together with the Hands-On International Association for Children in Museums. And this award recognizes innovation in children's spaces and children learning. And the shortlisted museums will receive a visit from the judge who would spend about half a day with the museum, speaking with the team members and also interacting independently with the visitors. So we had a judge who is an anthropologist, Dr. Arnold. He visited us and he spent almost the whole afternoon at our gallery and at the center. He spent about 2 hours talking to visitors by himself. And what happens after that is that all the shortlisted museums will then meet at a conference to share and present our ideas to each other. And then at the end, which was very nervous, the winner is announced. And so we were very, very happy and very lucky to receive the award last year. And this year, we will then be going to the next conference venue to pass the award to the next recipient. Okay, so Keppel Center for Art Education consists of 5 spaces. And what are some of the things that the judges highlighted as very unique in our center? We have a space for younger children, and we introduce elements of color, design, art making to them, inspired by the National Collection. We work with artists for about 6 to 8 months to plan, design, and create spaces for children. So a space by Tang Ling Na, one of our Singapore artists, would be at the center for about 24 months, 2 years. And every quarter, we will add a new program to it for families to enjoy. And the artists are not artists that usually work with children, but we spend more than half a year with them, asking them what are the ideas that they want to bring to children, what are things they want children to be aware of. And for Ling Na, it's about playing with your neighbors, just leaving your house and playing with your neighbors. That's something she wanted children to experience. And she created a space that is very much like the play area of our public housing, and she wanted children to play there. For Betty Susiaro, she is a craft person, so she makes soft sculptures, and she wanted children to imagine what it's like to be underwater. So she created an underwater world full of huggable sculptures, so they're very soft, and they're definitely very, very exciting for children to touch. We have 2 learning studios. With these 2 studios, we try to introduce to families certain art techniques and processes. So we have a ceramic studio where you can see a ceramic vessel in different stages of preparation, from first firing in a biscuit format to just pre-glazed to after firing. So children can touch that and feel the textures. We also experimented with having a digital game. So it's a ceramic digital game where you can kind of create a vase, a vessel on the touch screen, and send it for firing, and then it gets exhibited on the wall with other visitors' creations. We also have a printmaking studio. Here is where children can feel wood-cut blocks, so they can touch it, they can feel the textures, and they can make their own prints. And also something that's very attractive for children is that sometimes what they make, they don't really want to bring home. They like to be able to leave it behind for someone else to look at it. So we have a wall where they can leave their prints behind. And some of the learning points for us is between self-guided and guided activities. With self-guided activities in our imaginative play spaces, we try to put very little instructions, and we try really to have children and families learn to play as freely as possible. With the guided spaces like our learning studios, we have instructions that are a bit more step-by-step. And you follow maybe 3 basic steps to create your first print, and then after that, you can be a bit more creative and do it any way you want. And of course, in working with artists, I think one of the things that's most important is the artist must be interested in children. The artist must be interested in connecting and interacting with children. And very quickly, I only have a few minutes for this. These are some new projects that we're testing out. We have a digital play area where children can change the colors of one of our very well-known paintings. We have a social table which showcases over 180 artworks where you can make your own poster and bring it home with you. And we also, very new this year, we have launched a card game called Secrets of the Gallery, where you can pretend that you're an agent from the future and you're here in this gallery to look for a lost painting. So that card game allows children to experience the gallery in groups of 5 in their own way. And so what do children want to know about art? We don't know everything. We don't know all the answers to it. But here are a few more questions that we have collected from students and families. And here are some of their thoughts in their own writing. I think from as simple as realizing that your country has artists. You know, I think that's a really good learning point for a child to realize that, hey, my country has artists. You know, and also besides that big understanding, but also larger understandings that art is powerful. Art has an effect on people. So at the gallery, we hope that by listening to children and by asking ourselves, what is it that children want to know about art? We are contributing to a way where we can help them grow, we can understand their world, and we see them grow to become independent, responsible, and healthy adults. So, thank you.